Okay, good morning. Good Erev Blizzard. We're up to Membe's Amid Aleph. Up to Membe's Amid Aleph. Very interesting sugya in the mitzvah of tzitzis. So we're two, four, six, eight, about 8 lines down. Tan Rabbanan on Membe's Amid Aleph. Tan Rabbanan. Tzitzis ain't tzitzis el naf. Tzitzis is the lashon of strings. It's something that is hanging down. It's a naf. It's like a det. V'cheinu oimer. It says that Yecheskel says vayekicheni b'tzitzis roishi, and you took me by the tzitzis of my head. Uh, and v'amar Rabbi v'tzarich lefroida ki tzutzisa darmoy. You have to separate them like what? Like the tzutzis of a ramoy. Guys, picture a mango like a little the blurriest. It like goes together, comes out, and then it spreads out. This pasuk is brought, if you haven't, guys, you know before you make your bracha and your tzitzis, that you go ahead and you spread the tzitzis apart. It's from this pasuk. It's from this pasuk that you're spreading your tzitzis apart. Right? This pasuk that you took them by the tzitzis on your head and you spread them out. So this is the source for that. Tanabanan. Hitel ala keren oil al gedil. If you put the tzitzis on the keren, in the corner, oil al gedil, the edge, ksher, it's kasha. Rabbi Eliezer Yaakov disagrees. Paisel b'shtei, and he says whether it's the edge or the gedil, but then it's pasul. Keman az lahodar. It has to be al kanfei bigdehem. This is not al kanfei. Hodamar of gidl amarav tzitzis tzricha shetenu tefes ala keren. It has to be banging against the keren. Guys, you picture the tzitzis. Picture. But this, if it's hanging over there all the way, it's not going to bang. Over here, the sits over here bangs, this part bangs against this part. So it has to be banging on the knaf. So that's the reason why Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says it's possible. Because it says al kanfe shenem al kanfe bigdayim. Kiman, who this is according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It says, guys, the halachas like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Halachas Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov kavenaki. Kavenaki. I heard guys kav. There's 102 places in Shas. 102 places that we pass like him. Kav is gematria what? 102. Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Yochanan, but tzarich sheyarchik molei kesher goydel, and you have to go ahead and separate from the edge of the beged a kesher godel. I don't know if you probably have Rabbeinu Gershon. If you do, you probably do have it. It's so look if you can find the words molei kesher goydel in Rabbeinu Gershon. Baruch, you have about a quarter of the way down before the halfway point. Everyone have it? Molei Kesher Gadol? It's like you probably have black letters in the newer versions. Molei Kesher Gadol, Hainu Kesher Asheni Shel Gadol. That's the second knuckle of the thumb. The Hainu Ke'oirich Etzba HaGadol. It's like the length of the Etzba Gadol. Hainu B'soich Gimel Etzbois. And that distance is 3 Etzbois. The Kamar of Papa. V'idi Havichat Shiuruhu. So in yesterday's shir, the Papa informed us that the hole that you're going to make has to be 3 etzbois off. And now you're telling me it's from this finger, guys. It's from this finger and to the tip off. And it's the same distance. Okay? So it's the same distance. So basically, they're both saying the same thing. That's the key. They both seem to be saying the same thing. So afraid the Gemara Kasha. Afraid the Gemara. The Itzrich Rav Papa. You need Rav Papa's that 3 etzbois. V'yitzrich Rav Yaakov, and you need Rav Yaakov's that from the tip of the finger of the kesher gadol. Dim Rav Papa, if you learn from Papa that 3 etzbois, have amina toich gimel deloy l'charkei tfei. It has to be in the middle of 3, and shouldn't be any more, and no, not more than 3. The kama de mekarve, and the closer you get to the beged, the end of the beged, mile is better. In other words, you would say that Reb Papa is giving me a max, fellas. It can't be beyond that distance. Then when you say the hole can't be beyond 3 etzbois, but the closer to the edge of the beged would be better. That's what you'd say if you only have Reb Papa. The Itzrich Rabbi Yaakov to say the Kesher Gadol, even the Rabbi Yaakov have amina, Molei Kesher Gadol, the Leila Karef Tfei. In other words, you're giving me the minimal distance it has to be away. The Kama de Rachik, and the more distance you take away from that, Mala, it's better. Again, he's telling you how much the minimal distance is away, but if you go a bigger distance, it's even better. So tzricha. In other words, in the vernacular, Rav Papa, you'd say, is giving us a max. Rav Yaakov is giving us a minimum, and therefore you would not know that it should be at exactly the three boys mark, right? It's not at the three boys mark, not more than that, not less than that. That's where it should be. Ravina v'Rav Sama have a yasvei kamei de Rav Ashi. Ravina and Rav Sama, they were sitting in front of Rav Ashi. Chazi Rav Sama, lekarne de glime de Ravina. So Rav Sama saw the corner of the beged of Ravina, the sasar was ripped, who bought some imali kesher gadol and was less than a kesher gadol, and his sitz now was less than a kesher gadol. In other words, it was closer to the edge than the three boys mark, than this finger length, right? That's what he saw. Amalei, so Rav Sama told Ravina, like Saval Amar, not hold Lahod Rav Yaakov of Rav Yaakov's din, that it has to be it has to be what Kesher Gadol. So Amalei, so Ravina told Rav Sama, B'shas Asiya Itmar. That's only said B'shas you make it, but once after it's made, if it travels a little bit south, right? If it travels a little bit south, it would be good. So the shear is when you have to make it, but once it's made, even if it goes a little bit beyond the three, it's good. Ichsif, Rav Sama got embarrassed that he was bested by Ravina. Somewhere Rav Ashi told him, like Taskif, don't feel so bad, right? Chad minayu k'trei minan. One of them is like two of us. What does Rashi say? So Chad minayu mibnei Eretz Yisrael, Ravina mi Eretz Yisrael havi. So one member of Eretz Yisrael is better than two people of Babel. Comments Rabbeinu Gershom, mibnei Yisrael odif, that Kitrei Minon, the Avira the Eretz Yisrael machkim. The Gemara in Baba Basra, Daf Kuf Nun Ches, tells us that what? That the Avir of Eretz Yisrael makes you smart. So Ravina is from Eretz Yisrael, and therefore don't feel so bad, Rav Sama, you're in Bavel. So this is a very interesting point. It's mashma over here, Rav Ashi. It's mashma over here, Rav Ashi is saying that Bnei Yisrael, members of Eretz Yisrael, were smarter than the people in Bavel. They were greater in learning, which is problematic. When I was in Levi Gelfish's shir, he brought this Gemara, this Ritva and Yuma. So here it is, this Ritva and Yuma. We'll go through it. You see a Gemara in Sanhedrin, right? No, you don't. What do you see? You see this? You see like two columns of Hebrew words?
Yes.
Okay. So the Gemara there in Baba in Sanhedrin is describing, I'm told the Dari Ba'aradach Shchucha, since they live in Bavel, which is a land of darkness, Amri Shmaitza de Mechashichin. They say Shmaitza that what darkens. So in other words, the people in Bavel, this will be consistent with our Gemara, that the people in Eretz Yisrael were greater. This is fascinating. Pirish Rambam Zal, B'tshuvas Shela de Rabbi Yirmiyah, L'tamei, Da'amar, B'nachashakim Hashiveni, Kimesei Olam. And the pasuk in Eicha, in darkness you have placed me like Mason. Zet Talmud Bavli. V'taima mishum, T'lein hiri lahoin taimei de mesnisa kahalacha, because it wasn't clear to them the reasons. So when it came to concluding the halacha, who the halacha is like, the people in Bavel were not able to get the clarity, is the good word. They wanted to get the clarity like the people in Eretz Yisrael. This would be very consistent with our Gemara, right? This would be very consistent. Now, Reb Zera, fellas, he was in Bavel, and you might remember he went up to Eretz Yisrael. That's when he became Rebbe Zera. We said sometimes Rav Zera, sometimes Rebbe Zera. So he comes up to Eretz Yisrael, and what does it say? It says that he wanted to forget. He wanted to forget his Torah from Bavel. He would daven that he should forget it. Because it wasn't clear as when he began learning in Eretz Yisrael. The minhag the alma, it's the way of the world. This guy's all the shalas. This is the Shura Rambam. The minhag the alma, the matker inish tfei. My degoma beresha. A person remembers what he learned first, right? Girsa the Yankusa. We remember what you learned first. That's why it's very important when a Rebbe gives a foundation, you got to make sure it's right, because the kid's going to remember that. Miu. Now here's the point that I think is fascinating. Miu lav b'chol hadaris hayukain. It wasn't in every generation like that. It wasn't in every generation that the people in Bavel were inferior in learning to people in Eretz Yisrael. Ela b'mei Rava, Rabbi Yosef, v'Abaya, right? For Rava to Havile Shmados, there was Sasha Shmad. In other words, these were time of oppression. So in Bavel, where there was oppression, therefore they didn't have the Yishuv Adas to sit and learn, so they didn't have that clarity. K'de'isa b'aseichos apoilim. V'amina nami perik elu treifis. Orku Chava v'Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Zera Amalu Arikoi. They're arguing, I think, about a shoelace. I don't remember clearly. Shaya Barchin Machmas Hashmadais. They were running away because of the Shmad. The Amalu Rabbi Zera Shem Kol Zais La Yishchu Deveit HaTorah. With all this, we didn't forget the Torah. V'amina perik Hamenachos v'Nesachim. V'hoyu Chayecha Toluyim L'cha Mineged. Zela Keach Tfua Mishana L'Shana. Whatever it's talking about over there. Then Kach like Keach Tfua Mishana L'Shana Kol Shkein L'Shmadais. Sheyesh Ben Sakonis Nefashos. So in other words, basically just put a raya that b'shash hashmad, that was the time where it was difficult to retain their learning and having clarity. Al achrei kain niskabra haTorah b'Bavel. Afterwards, Torah became very grew in tremendous length in Bavel. Kol shekain b'mei Rav Ashi, and certainly in the days of Rav Ashi, the Arminon miyamos Rebbe v'ad Rav Ashi lematzinu Torah gedula b'makom echad. From the times of Rebbe to the times of Rav Ashi, we never find Torah Gedul Makom Echad. Ad Kan Divri Rabbeinu Zal, says the Ritva. These are the words of Rambam. V'chaim heim lemotzehem, and it brings life to those who find it. It brings life to those who find it. What's my problem, fellas? Rav Ashi is the one who said over here to that Ravina, this is Mei Rav Ashi, and Ravina is telling Rav Sama, don't feel bad. Two of us is equal to one of them. Based upon the Rambam, again, so it conflicts with that Rambam, because this is Rav Ashi talking, fellas, and Rav Ashi is saying that it's still that they were greater in Eretz Yisrael. I think it's a fascinating Rambam. Just give you a little historical perspective, and also just it's sharing the Gemara a little bit exactly what the answer was over here. Okay, thank you, Rav Levi Gelfish.
Listen, we see today even that certain kids have certain siyata d'shmaya when they go to Eretz Yisrael to learn. They don't have in chutzlaritz, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be avir da'arka machkim. It could also be that they're getting away from the garbage in America.
True. Yeah.
It could be that. It's just a change of venue. Could be a change. But you say, did you ever hear the reason why Eretz Da'arka machkim? I heard once in Pshat. I must have shared it with you. Moshe Rabbeinu, there's a medrash. If Moshe gone to Eretz Yisrael, there'd be no shikha. If Moshe went to Eretz Yisrael, there'd be no shikha. My opinion is, whatever Moshe did was nitzchias. Moshe's netzach. Moshe built a mishkan, the luchos, everything that Moshe touched is still around. Right? Moshe's Torah, there's no change. Whatever Moshe did was permanent. Had Moshe gone to Eretz Yisrael, there would have been no shikha. Okay? Moshe never made it to Eretz Yisrael, but what did Hashem do? He took him up and he said, take a look in. What did he see? He saw the airspace. Mele avir da'achar machkim. That's why the avir is machkim. I think I must have shared this with you. That's why avir da'achar machkim. It's a very, very nice pshat. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Rami Arba v'Ayiflu. Now, how do you make tzitzis? So Rav Acha bar Yaakov Rami Arba v'Ayiflu me'af u'maylo beglima. He would take the tzitz. He would fold it, guys, into 8. And you'd have, in other words, here's your hole. Outside the hole, he took the four strings. He folded the 4 strings. Now you have 8. Then he took he made that loop part, the top part. He put it through the hole, and then he looped from the other side the 8 strings and put it through the hole. So he made a slip knot, right? You understand what he's doing? You have the hole. The strings are over here. He takes the strings. He loops them over, so you have 8. You have 8 because you have that 8 on the beged. He then went ahead, took those 8, looped it through here. So now you have a hole over here, in like where it's folded over, and he took the strings and he put it through that hole. Okay, we obviously don't do that, but this is what Rav Acha bar Yaakov did. The Avik Mavik, he made a loop, he made a slip knot. Ksavar be'inan tamnaya beglimo, because he held you needed 8 strings on the garment itself. Ki hechi l'havi gidul gedilim b'makom echad. b'makom psil. Kehechel have a gilul b'makom psil. Rav Yomi midifni Rami Tamnaya. He took 8. The inhu shitzer, and took 8 strings and made 16. But he didn't go ahead and make what? He didn't make this slip knot. Ma'abere the Ravina of it kididon, like we do. We take 4, put it through a hole, and now we have 8.
Is that method of putting 8 in and making a slip knot? Is that why the minig of some begadim have 2 holes, so that there's 8 on the beged?
I think that minig is. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that that Chabad that minig of the. I'm not sure about that minig. Most people don't have the 2. I've seen the 2, but I don't know the reason for it. Rav Nachman
No, it's all Hasidim. All Hasidim do that. They do have 2 holes.
Hasidim have the 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it's Hasidish, but what's the source for it? In other words, why would you gain by that?
I don't know.
See what you gain, Rabbi. You still have. You still have no. I don't. You don't have 8. You still have the same amount.
No, you have because you're both going through the hole, and then there were 8 strings mamish on the beged. Then, not 4 and 4. If you think about it, they're sitting in the front of the beged.
Hanging down from the 2 holes, you have 8 against the beged. That could be. That would make a little sense. Yeah, that would make a little sense. Rav Nachman Ashkei Rav Adabar Ava Rami Chute. He was making tzitzis. Become a varich lasos tzitzis, and was make a bracha to make tzitzis. So Amalei. So Rav Nachman heard Rami Ava making a bracha. I'm like, my tzitzi shemana hachi. What kind of tzitzi? What kind of what kind of bracha? When I hear these words tzitzi, he's playing on words. This noise I'm hearing. Hastes Rav Nachman held that not to make a bracha lasos tzitzis. He didn't hold to make a bracha lasos tzitzis. So hachi amarav tzitzis ain't through the bracha. Like tzitzis says Rav Nachman, that's in the name of Rav. Tzitzis does not need a bracha. Now we begin a nice digression. Kinoach navshei de Rav Huna. When Rav Huna was nifta, oil Rav Chisda lememra the Rav ad Rav. Rav Chisda asked the stira Rav on Rav. That Rav said that you make tzitzis, you don't need a bracha. He's going to ask from another place. Umi amar Rav tzitzis ain't tzarich bracha. Does Rav say tzitzis does not need a bracha? For Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav minayin litzitzis beoivet kichavim shehi psula. How do you know tzitzis by oivet kichavim that it's possible? How do you know tzitzis by oivet kichavim? No, so the guy would make the tzitzis. How do you know it's possible? Shnamar. Daber al bnei Yisrael, v'yasul hem tzitzis. Bnei Yisrael yasu. Bnei Yisrael they should make tzitzis. V'lo yoav dekechavim yasu. So chayra. So v'hai my rumya. So good. So Rav says on one hand you don't make a bracha, and Rav said on the other hand the guy can't make tzitzis. So where's the stira? There's 2 separate dinim, right? There's two separate dinim. He's saying that you make a bracha. You don't make a bracha, and he says that a guy can't make tzitzis. So where is the stira? Some Rabbi Yosef, Kasav Rav Chisda, Kol mitzvah shekeshera b'oivet kichavim, b'Yisrael ein tzarich levarach. Any mitzvah that's kosher for a guy to do, any mitzvah that's kosher for a guy to do, Yisrael doesn't make a bracha. Because why? Because we're not able to say Asher Kiddushanu. Guys, what does Asher Kiddushanu mean? He was mitzvah us. But if a guy can do it, it's not unique Asher Kiddush, it's Geshmak. So in other words, that's the formula. If a guy can do it, then you don't make a bracha. If a guy can't do it, you should make a bracha. So now you got your stira, guys. What your stira? You're telling me on tzitzis, you don't make a bracha. But one second, if a guy can't do it, you should be able to say Asher Kiddushanu, and you should be able to make a bracha. That's the kasha. That's the kasha. So kol mitzvah shekeshera by v'kichavim b'Yisrael ain't tzarich levarech. Kol mitzvah shepsula by v'kichavim b'Yisrael tzarich levarech. So memela, I have a very good kasha. Rav on one hand says by you don't make a bracha making tzitzis. On the other hand, Rav says that if a guy can do it, you don't make a bracha. So l'chayra, if a guy can't do it, you do make a bracha. Over here, a guy can't do it. The klalahu says the Gemara, is this a klal? Is this a universal klal that if a guy can't do it, you make a bracha? If he could do it, you don't. For her mila the ksheira by v'kichavim, mila is kosher with a guy. Titania, Ir Shein Baroifa, Yisrael, a city that doesn't have a Jewish doctor. V'yesh b'roifa armoi, it has a goyish doctor, v'roifa kuti or kuti doctor. Yomel armoi, v'al yomel kuti, divrei meya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, kuti v'lei armoi. Right. And either way, no, it's machlekes who takes precedence, the kuti or the armoi, but neither one is Jewish. But what do you see? That a goy could go ahead and do a milah. Ubi Yisrael tzarich levarech. Da'am hamar, hamal oimer, baruch Hashem kedushan mesav sivanu, ala milah. So, guys, you have a right, guys. What's your rule of thumb? If a guy can't do it, you could make a bracha. If a guy could do it, you don't make a bracha. But here we have a guy being able to do milah and still you're making a bracha. So we just ruined your rule. Says the Gemara, midu time el Rav. Who are you trying to fataish? You're trying to fataish Rav, who said this rule. Rav einachinami mifsal pasel. Rav pasels a guy. So that would make sense. If a guy can't do it, you make a bracha. Where do you see the Rav passes a guy? You know, it's the whole no Armenian and no. I had Tanoi and Rabbi and Yehuda. Rav Tanu Polig. Rav can argue on them. And Rav said a guy can't do a milah. The itmar minayin lamila boyvi kachavim shepsula. How if a guy does the milah, it's possible. Doru bar papa mishmei the Rav Amu. Doru bar papa in the name of Rav Amar. The ata esprisi tishmar. Rabbi Yochanan Amar. You should watch it. You were not a guy. And Rabbi Yochanan Amar himol yamal. What does that mean? Hamol, a person that's gemalit yamul. He should go ahead and give a milah. So right now our stira is intact. Why would Rav Nachman saying in the name of Rav, you're making a bracha on tzitzis? Why? Of course you can. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, Rav said on one hand, what you should be able to make a bracha on tzitzis. Why? Because a goy can't go ahead and make tzitzis. So if a goy can't make tzitzis, then you could make a bracha. So why was Rav Nachman giving tzitzi? What's he telling him? It says sukkah mesayele. Sukkah will prove this rule correct. Tefillin have a tiyufte, and tefillin will be a question on this rule. So again, what's our rule? If a goy can do it, you can't make a bracha. If a goy cannot do it, you could make a bracha. So now, says the Gemara. So sukkah is going to be a riot to this rule. Hari sukkah diksheira by b'kichavim. If a goy would have a sukkah, he puts up a sukkah, it's kasha. The Tanya, sukkahs oivid kechavim, sukkahs nashim, sukkahs behema, sukkahs kutim, sukkahs mikol makayim ksheira. Ubelvad shet tehema sucheches kil chasabiyah. Right, Friday is good tzchach. Ubi Yisrael ein tzarich levarech. The Tanya, hois the sukkah le'atzma yom yebrach Hashem kishanu shachiyam lekimanu v'giyanu. That's man hazeh. But leishev boy, you come to sit in the sukkah yebrach Hashem melech Hashem melech. So simanu leishev bas sukkah v'yilas the sukkah le'mevarech. And you know why you don't make a bracha? Because the guy can put the sukkah up. That's our rule right there. It works. The guy makes the sukkah, it's kasha, therefore you don't make a bracha last place. So therefore, it makes sense. If a guy makes tzitzis, then what? Since he can't do it, you should make a bracha. And again, we're finishing the rule. Now we're breaking the rule. Where's the tefillin is a tiyufta to the rule. By tefillin the psulais by v'kichavim, the Tanya Reb Chanina berei the Rava on the base. Me pashranya. The name of a place. Don't say that quickly 3 times. Sefer Torah, tefillin, umezuzos, shekosmin, tzeduki, kuti v'kechavim, eved, isha v'koden, mumar, psulin, shnemar, ukeshartem, ukesaftam. Kol sheyeshna b'kshira, anyone is in the ballpark of tying them, yeshna b'ksiva is in the ballpark of writing them. Kol she'ena b'kshira, ena b'ksiva. Okay, now, so guys, according to this rule, should a Jew make a bracha on making tefillin? Yeah, guys, right. That's a rule. If a guy can't do it, the Jew should be able to make a bracha. So if I show you that a Jew doesn't make a bracha, then it's an upshlag on your rule. Says the Gemara. Kol shein b'kshirim, ein tzarich levarech. The shalach Rav Chia b'rei Rav Huna mishmei Rav Yochanan al tefillin shel yad omer baruch Hashem kedushan v'misad sivan al neach tefillin. Atfilin shel roish aimer baruch Hashem kedushan b'savet sivanu al mitzvahs tefillin al mitzvahs tefillin the ilu lasos tefillin that regarding the bracha of making the tefillin loy mevarich there's kasha. Okay, let's just reiterate. Rav Nachman found I don't want to get the name straight. He found Rav Adabar Ava making a bracha on making tefillin, on tzitzis. And Rav Nachman said in the name of Rav, you don't make the bracha. You don't make the bracha. Right? Why can't you? Now, then we said, we asked the stira. A guy can't make tzitzis. If a guy can't make tzitzis, our rule is, then you could make a bracha. When can't you make a bracha since a guy can do it? And therefore, you can't say Asher Kedishanu because it's not unique to us. But once a guy can't do it and it's unique to us, you can say Asher Kedishanu. So, l'chayra, you have a stira. On one hand, a guy can make tzitzis. Then mainly, you should be able to make a bracha. And on the other hand, Rav says you don't. We have sukkah, that's a proof. A goy could make a sukkah, and therefore you don't make a bracha. A goy can't make tefillin, and you still don't make a bracha. And that's the kasha. So the goy can't make the tefillin, nonetheless, you're not making a bracha last place. So how do we reconcile that? But by tefillin, elolav, we have no kasha. Elolav, hainu taima, kol mitzvah dasiyasan gimar mitzvah. Any mitzvah that the action completes it is the completion of the mitzvah, kikoin mila. Afagav diksher by v'kichav, even the guy could do it. Be Yisrael tzarich levarich. So now we're retracting, guys. Even though Rav holds that it's not kosher with a guy, mila, even if it would be kosher with a guy, right? Even you still make a bracha. Why? Because it's the gamar mitzvah. You're completing the mitzvah. Right? As soon as you finish the mila, it's completed, right? V'chol mitzvah dasiyasa lav gemar mitzvah. You're going to fill in. After you make the tefillin, it's not the gemar mitzvah. Why? Because you didn't put it on yet. Avgav the psulas by v'kechavim b'Yisrael ein tzarech levarich. If since even the great puzzle doesn't make a difference, you still don't make a bracha because it's not the gemar mitzvah. So we have a different criteria now. If the action you're doing is the gemar mitzvah, then you make a bracha. If it's not, then not. Now here's the question: what about tzitzis? Is tzitzis a gemar mitzvah now? Guys, look. Is sukkah gemar mitzvah? No, you're not sitting in the sukkah. Again, it wasn't a kasha from sukkah because sukkah a guy could make. But the bottom line is, mila is a gemar mitzvah. So even if a guy can't do it, you make a bracha anyway. Even a guy could do it. Guys, you make a bracha anyway. Tefillin, even though a guy can't do it, you still don't make a bracha because you didn't complete the mitzvah. What about tzitzis? If I make tzitzis, is that a gemar mitzvah or not? So that would go into the shaila, is tzitzis a mitzvah on the gavra or a mitzvah on the chefza? If it's a mitzvah on the chefza, you make a bracha, because as soon as you make it, you completed the mitzvah. If on the other hand, it's a mitzvah on the gavra, it's the same thing as tefillin. You don't complete it until you put it on. So that would be what the Gemara is going to go ahead and suggest. Ubetzitzis, whether you make a bracha, lasos tzitzis, b'hakamifkli. Masava, Rav Adabar Ava held, chayva talishu. It's the chayv of a talis, therefore he made the bracha lasos tzitzis. Umasava and Rav Nachman in the name of Rav held chayv is gavrahu. It's the chi of gavra, and therefore what? He said, mat tzitzi, what am I hearing this tzitzis? No bracha, you don't make a bracha on tzitzis. Guys, we're good? Nice Gemara. Amar of Mordechai Rav Ashi. Asan hachi masnisan lon, you learned this way, and non hachi masnisan. This is the way we learned. Amar Rav Yudah Amar Rav, minayin litzitzis, ba'ovid kichavim shek sheira. How do you know if a guy makes tzitzis is kosher? As al-limud wasn't kosher, right? Al-limud it was not kosher. But here they said if a guy does make tzitzis, it is kosher. Shneimar, Babel b'nei Yisrael v'asul lehem tzitzis, yasul lehem acherim v'asul lehem tzitzis. Let yasul lehem acherim. Let other people go ahead and make tzitzis. Let other people make the tzitzis. So the male is very good. If other people make the tzitzis, you won't be able to make the bracha asher kiddishanu. Why? Because even a guy could make it, and that would explain Rav Nachman's reaction to Rav Adabar Ava. I'm Rav Yudah Rav. Asa min koitzim. Okay, this is different types of wool. Koitzim, wool like that's koitzim, umin hanimim, threads, gradanim, psula. Right, it's pasul. Says Rashi why. Psula calls man shem mechubarim lebeged. The pasul as long as they're attached to the beged. The be'in asil lishma, because you have to make them lishma. The be'in l'si l'shma, you have to make them l'shma, and you didn't make them l'shma. So therefore, that would be a chesaron. Min asisin, but if it's made from a regular ball of thread, then kasherim. It's made from a ball of thread, right? It's kosher. Why would it be kosher? What's the difference? So it seems to be that even though the ball of thread, they weren't spun l'shma, since placing them in the hole, making the tzitzis was shema, you don't need them spinning l'shma. That would be what a svar. It's Rashi and Sukkah. Rashi and Sukkah says, in other words, I have the thread. We make the thread tefillah lishma. We go ahead and make it. But he's holding that as long as you put it in lishma, it will be okay. That's the difference. Mashenkin, these were on the beged beforehand. You didn't put it in, then it would not be what? It would not be kosher. So according to Rashi, it's felt in lishma. The Rambam guys learns this is felt in the quality. This is not zekeli van veyu. It's not a lishma problem. It's a quality of wool problem. So therefore, that would explain why a ball of wool, of thread, is superior and could be used. But these other things, koitz and nimin, gardanim, they're not good enough. So that's machloikis between Rashi and the Rambam how to learn the sugya. According to Rashi, it's felt in the shema. According to the Rambam, it's felt in the quality. So therefore, that would explain the two ways to learn in the Gemara. Rabbi had a question. Okay. Ki amisa kamei de Shmuel. When I said this in front of Shmuel, Amar af min asisim psula. Even season is psula. You know why? Being in tefillah lishma. This is what we need. We need tefillah. We need it spun lishma. Again, because according to that, the ball was made a thread already. It wasn't spun yet. So it's not enough to make it lishma. It means you have to make the actual thread lishma. You have to make the thread lishma. It's not enough to make the garment lishma. You have to make the thread lishma. So now, sipun zahav. This is speaking about tefillin. You're covering a box of tefillin. Or instead of you have this is for the football aficionados out there. You put on tefillin and it says the Duke. That means you're putting on pigskin. The Duke. You didn't get it. Lenny, stayed in a football. Baruch got it right away. Lenny, Anyway, it says on the football the Duke. So Mela footballs are made out of pigskin. So
it will be in the blog tomorrow.
Right, for sure.
There's always revenge.
so you cover it with pigskin. You cover it with pigskin. So if you cover it with gold or you cover it with pigskin, right? It's psula that sits as puzzle. Or behemoth tahira ksheiros. The or of a kosher animal is kosher for the batim. Ivdan lishman, even though you didn't go ahead and tan it lishma. Right. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Leimer, af or behemoth tahiris psulos at sheyavdon lishma, until you go ahead what and do it lishma. So l'chayr we have machlokes by tefillin. Does the manufacturer of the leather have to be lishma? Zichir has to be from a kosher animal, right? Question: Tanakama says it can be from kosher, but you don't need avida lishma. You don't need the tan lishma. Says Rav Shimon Gamliel, no, it has to be lishma. What's that zushtel to us? So does the actual making of the thread have to be lishma? Like Rav Shimon Gamliel, yes, and like the Tanakama, not. Mashma that there's no difference between tefillin and mezuzah. You're bringing a raya to mezuzah to be a lishma from tefillin, right? You're bringing a raya from there. Shtei taisvis, kit hanoid, sipin zahav, tema. Dilma, tzitzis, shiny. Maybe tzitzis, the reason you have to make a lishma is different. The perikamid sukkah, darish gedilim taselach, l'shem chayvascha. Maybe, in other words, maybe everyone would hold tzitzis, it has to be lishma. Even the Tanakama of tefillin would have to hold that way. Means a limud by tzitzis, it has to be lishma. So what's your tzushtel saying it's a machloikas tanoim by tefillin for who adin it's a machloikas by mezuzah? Ken zayin by mezuzah, every woman hold you need tefillah lishma, and it's not a machloikas tanoim because it says gedilim tasel lach right chayvcha. V'imi, okay, you guys got it. V'imi shum dichsev lach la'ois hu la'ois. If you're going to say what dichsev lacha la'ois hu dorish, you're going to say it says by tefillin also ois. So lacha. So therefore, just like Rav Shimon Gamliel argues there, he'll argue by tzitzis. Guys, what's the kasha? Listen. We have over here, you're suggesting by tzitzis, it's a machloikas tanoim, whether you lean the shma, the tefillah shma or not. Good. Let's equate twisting the shma to making bottom of tefillin, the shma. We see by bate tefillin, the shma, it's a machlokes. Tanakama says it does not have to be made lishma. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says it does. Memela, Here's the machlok. Here's the Tanakama would agree that by tzitzis you don't need tefillah shema, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel would say by tzitzis you do need tefillah shema. That's the Gemara. Freg Toises a bomb. Maybe mezuzah is a little hechera madrega than tefillin. You know why? It says gedilim tasel lach. What does that mean? L'shem chayvcha. And even the Tanakama of tefillin would be ma'ida to that. And therefore it's not a machlokes tanoim. Now, the Gemara goes, now ball's in your court. But it says lach by tefillin, right? It says it says that by tefillin, and Memela Rav Shimon Gamliel argues there. So who then will argue by tzitzis? So that's not a kasha. That's in other words, Tosfos is asking kasha and being mataritz in the same one line. Look at Tosfos now; you'll understand it. Kitanoi tzipa zahav tema dilma tzitzis shiny. Maybe tzitzis is different. The perakam the sukkah darish gedilim tasalach l'shem chayvcha. V'imishum nechsiv lach l'chal la'is. So you say in one breath, 1 second. It says lach by tefillin, and yet Rabbi Shimon Gamliel argues. So therefore, it's a good sushtel. No, hadashinu leila el we dashed before l'chal la'is leila. Yet you cover it up. Right? You cover up your shalyad. It's for you and us and no one else. So it's not telling me a din on lishma. It's telling me a din that it should be you for you yourself. So therefore, back to the original question. Maybe this is different. V'hasam gabi sukkah parach ki agavna mechaga sukkos taselcha. Mishani ditzrich l'meute gezula. L'cha is not to my lishma, but to my stolen sukkah. We don't darshan that the sukkah has to be lishma. V'imishum the tefillin is kish l'mezuzah, and you'll say why it's machlokes tanoim because tefillin is mukish l'mezuzah, right? U'mezuzah v'sefer Torah yolef ksiva miget, right? And you say get has to be lishma. Hamiget gufa loy bo'ina asi lishma. By get you don't have to make the guys. The get has to be written lishma. The cloth that it's written on does not have to be made lishma. Again, the get has to be written lishma, but the cloth made does not. So Tosfos bleib shver. It's a gewaldige kasha, guys. What's the Gemara's zustelling tzitzis to tefillin? Ken Zayin, everyone would agree. Even Reb Shimon Gamliel, even the Tanakama of Shimon Gamliel would agree by tzitzis that it has to be lishma, right? Because it says gedilim tasel lecha. Tosfos bleib shver, and we will bleib shver until tomorrow.